Yep. So Erica's question, you probably see that in the chat. How do I turn off the emails about changes to the course? So in the course, you can do that. If I go into the course, like I can see an update from the course right here when I log in. So Intro to Schoology courses, Fort Wayne. This is my practice student. But what you can do is in the very upper right when you're in the course, there's notifications. And so you can choose to turn off notifications, especially if you're in Schoology quite a bit. So this is the notifications area just for this course. There is another, I'm going to leave this one on, but there's another notifications area that's kind of an overall notifications area for you. And that is if you click your name in the upper right, in the settings area, there's a tab for notifications. And so that's kind of like the main notifications area, but your question was specific to this course. So there is another one over there in the settings though. All right. Well, we are going to get started here. And so good morning, everyone. Welcome back. If you're new today, if I didn't work with you last time, my name is Jake Gavand, and I'm glad to be working with you today. We have an hour and a half, and I do have another training right after this. So unfortunately, last time I was able to stay after and answer some extra questions. I won't be able to do that today. I've got another appointment right after. So but we will do our very best to answer all your questions as we go. So please put them in the chat or unmute. And I noticed that Rachel Moyer, your tech coordinator, posted a Padlet, and that's where your school district's gathering questions as all these trainings are happening with Schoology and as you roll it out. So that's a great place to put your questions as well, especially because the collective expertise will probably be able to answer your questions very well, even if I don't get to it today, like after we're done. So, all right, so on my screen, you should be able to see this training course that I had you join last time. And one thing to point out right away, and I believe you already know about it, but there's a page right at the top which welcomes you, but then right underneath that, this Fort Wayne Session 1 MP4, that's a video file from our last time. And later on today, you'll see another one show up, which is going to be this training today. So this is going to be the place where you can go to kind of review if you want to see a video again. So right here. What we did last time as well is we started to build some materials. Remember, we had a practice course that you probably built, a sandbox, whatever you call it, and I made some notes of a few things that I forgot to show you last time that I meant to. And so we're going to start with those, and then we're going to jump into assignments and assessments, and that's going to be where we spend the lion's share of our time today. So in the training course, on the left side, you'll see we're in the materials area. If you go to the next menu item down, it's called Updates. So go ahead and click that if you would. These are really the main two areas of the course where students will interact with you. Updates is for communication. And so I want to make sure we start with updates. It's very important. Communication is a big part of Schoology. So when you go into the updates, you'll see I've made a couple of updates. I actually made them today. And the two updates I made, one of them has a video with it. And I use this a lot with my courses I teach. I probably 2 or 3 days a week will make an update with a short video. Truly, it's like 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And it's really to just say hello to my students, kind of point them in the direction they need to go. Or another thing I do is I often will address some misconceptions or questions that have been coming up in my class. Now, the thing to take away from that, though, is I teach online. So when I'm teaching online, it's even more important to have that connection with my students. If you're with your students face to face, then maybe that's not going to be as critical for you. But certainly we'll show you here in the next few minutes how to do that. So this is an update with a video. You can see the video has a thumbnail that shows up. If students click on it, I'm not going to play it right now, but it opens up full screen, and then you can, or not full screen, but bigger, but I don't know, 500 pixels across or something, and then the students can play it. So that's right there. There's also a poll here. And so another thing you can do with updates is just get some quick informal feedback. And so I just put a fun one there for us. And so if you would go ahead and respond to this poll if you haven't, you maybe already did. I'm in as a student, so I don't get to see the results until after I post. So of these 5 options here, my favorite, I suppose it depends on the day. I will say hiking in the mountains. I don't live in the mountains, and there I get to see some mountains. So yeah, so I can see several of us have voted. Um, as a former math teacher, I kind of like this because the little gray bars that show up are actually proportional. So it's truly like a bar graph. You know, this one hiking in the mountains that has 3 votes versus 8 votes for relaxing on the beach. The 3 votes is truly, 3/8 of this one. So just a little quick way to get feedback. I'll use this quite a bit in my classes too if I'm running a synchronous session with Schoology, or if you're teaching face-to-face. I'll just do like a red light, yellow light, green light update, where I'm just trying to find out from the students. It's a red light if they are really, they're really lost, they need some more instruction. A yellow light maybe if they need one more example. A green light if they're ready to go on. And since it's anonymous, it's not embarrassing for a student to say, gosh, I'm lost. And so as a teacher, you can get some quick feedback like this, and no one sees who said what. So yeah, Jackie, you're right. The mountains are calling me. And living in Minnesota, we're pretty much at sea level. I've got lots of lakes here in Minnesota, and I suppose you're pretty much flatland too, where you are, maybe. But um, I spent a couple weeks once in Kokomo, Indiana, at Purdue, Kokomo. But otherwise, I haven't been to Indiana too much. All right. So let me, why don't we go into our course where we're the teacher. So where that would be, let me go over here. The course we created last time, if you click on your courses in the top menu, I don't know, mine I called Gavan Practice Fort Wayne. I don't know what you called yours, but it's like your sandbox or practice course where you are trying some things. Let's go in there, and I'd like us to try posting a couple of updates. Yeah, you're 200 feet more above sea level than I am, Jack. We're about 600 feet here. So, all right. So last time I was in here, had this practice folder, but we're going to go in the updates area over here on the left. So materials, then updates. And this box, gives you some kind of formatting options. One thing I will tell you is you can, like if you created something in like a Google Doc that even has images or something, you can copy and paste it into here. The thing to be careful of is if you make a post that's a really big image, it takes up a lot of space. So you kind of want to think about, okay, we've got this, you don't want to put any real huge images in here, but you can certainly copy and paste into this box. So just to show you what I did, if you ever want to post an update with a video, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to have to stop my camera here, on that side over here. Zoom does not allow me to use, this is actually Zoom under the hood. Ring Central is actually just a rebranding of Zoom. That's why I said that. But so it doesn't allow you to use a camera in 2 different places. So if I change, I usually use about a 14-point font size, and you can post an update with a video. So the way you add the video is these little icons underneath. Right here, this one is the audio video recording. These previous 3 are more just for adding a file, like uploading a file from your computer. You could add a link, or you could take something from your resources in Schoology if you want. But this one, kind of where it starts to get interesting. This is where you can add an audio video recording. So if I click that, you could do audio only. Generally, I do the one on the right, the audio and video. So if you select that, wait a moment, and your camera will activate, and then you can see this. Now, if any of you are sharing your camera already in this call, like a few of you were, then this won't work until you turn that off. So I had to mute my camera on this video call, and then now I can see this. So, I can make a recording. It'll start to show the time up in the corner here, but then I can talk to my students, share whatever information, say hello, point them in whatever direction I want them to go. And when I'm done, I just click stop recording. And it takes, I don't know, a few seconds. And then you'll see this button change to insert recording. And you can do that. Shannon, is there a limit? I believe it's 10 minutes, but this video recorder is a lot of places in Schoology. And so uh, it may be a little shorter in the updates area. I don't know for sure. I haven't tested the upper limits of it. Um, so if your students, when they're turning in an assignment, are making a video, like Rachel, I think, is referring to, 10 minutes is the limit for those. And I'm guessing it's the same in the updates too. And Rachel, you may know more than I do about that. That's a great question. So I'm going to post this. Now, when you post that at first, your video will just look like this. It's a link, and what it's doing is it's processing behind the scenes. But within a couple minutes, this is going to change into that little video thumbnail. So while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead. Why don't you all take a couple minutes and try posting maybe 2 more updates? See if you can try one with a poll in it. Try that. And then if you want to try one where you attach something, that would be great. But I'll just give you about 2 minutes to try a couple of updates and ask questions. So I'm going to be quiet for a couple minutes while you work. We'll give you another minute here to try something. And feel free again to ask questions. I did refresh my screen, and you can see that video shows up then. All right. So if I could ask your attention back to my screen, hopefully you had a chance to post an update or two and see how that works. As I said, you won't be able to post videos if you're already using your camera for something else. So I know about 6 of you are using your camera on this call, 5 or 6 of us. So one thing that you may not have noticed in your kind of playing around with this is that there's a certain thing you can do with your updates, and generally they're updates that are all text. They could have some images as well, but you can make certain updates into an announcement. In fact, you can have one at a time only. And so let me show you that. So I have an update on my screen, which just talks about a test coming up on Friday. And next to the post button, there's a little speech bubble right there. And if I click that, there's a bell that I can check. So if I hover on that bell, it tells me this will mark the course update as an announcement. So I'll do that, and then we'll post it. And you'll see what that does, a little different. So it still shows up down with the other updates, but it's also at the top of the screen. And if I go over to the materials page, right now I'm on the updates page, it's still going to be there. So you can have one of your updates at a time be an announcement. So if students are mostly, landing here on the materials page to do work, they're still able to see that. Like if you have a test coming up or study session or something, that can be helpful. So, and once that's done, So Friday, I'm probably going to remove this because it's no longer something for them to be thinking about coming up. So one other way you can handle things like this is you can add an event. So over here on the right side, any due dates for assignments are going to pop up. But I believe, I don't know if I showed you this last time or not, but you can always add events to students' calendars as well on the right. So this is from your course, add event. And I could say, so what is Friday? Friday is going to be April 2nd, isn't it? So I could actually click on April 2nd, and I could say, Unit 3 test, simple machines. And I could, even attach things like a study guide or something if I wanted to. But by doing this, you're starting to just put that on students' calendars, and so they can see that over here. This is not an assignment or anything. It's just some date for them to be aware of. So just another way to communicate using the calendar for your course. I'm going to pause for a second. Any questions or comments here? All right. So let us keep going then. What I'd like to do right now is let's jump back into the course where you're my students. That's that training course. And so if I click on my courses at the top, it's this one, the Intro to Schoology courses, Fort Wayne. And as a teacher, again, I probably, well, you need to be able to you can only do what I'm going to show you here in a course that you're teaching, but I do want to show it to you. So here I've got this course with lots of materials, and I've got my updates. I have a choice as a teacher when students or even parents, if you have parent accounts at some point, come into this course. Right now their default landing spot is they land right on the materials page. But some teachers prefer to have people, when they first come into the course, land on the updates page instead. That especially tends to be, and a few of you actually made your updates, Stan and Sandra, right in my course. I leave mine open for that, so looks like you practiced that. Stan, I have not tried that before, where you have a poll and you have a video in the same update. That's pretty cool. Yep, there we go. And Sandra's talking about trail running. So I get to see a couple of your updates right there. But anyway, if you're a teacher that wanted students to first come to updates rather than materials, what you can do in your course options menu, you can go to the edit privacy and course settings option right here. Now, again, this has to be in a course where you are the teacher. So this particular course that I'm in now, you couldn't do this, but I'm showing it to you. So when you select that, most of these things are going to be set by your district, but the very bottom setting, default landing page, that's the one that you can change. So you could say, I don't want students to come to materials right away when they come into my course. I want them to land on the updates instead. And so then you could save it. And now, if I go to my courses in the top menu and I click on the Fort Wayne Schools course, it lands on the updates now instead of materials. So you can change that. I'll go in there one more time and change it back, but edit privacy or course settings, it's under the course options menu. And I'm going to change it back to materials because we're going to be working in materials mostly. All right. One other thing, when you're in this area, you can certainly go back to your courses and find the course, but you also have an option right at the top in this little menu to go right back to the course here, Intro to Schoology courses. So again, you have to be in a course where you're the teacher to do what I just did. All right. So what I'd like us to do now is something, I love these, they're called media albums. And so in the Be a Student folder, so if you would take a look, we've got a couple folders here, ideas and examples, but then Be a Student. Let's go into that folder right there. I'm going to expand it from here. And we have this try a media album, picture or meme. So media albums are something that I use quite a bit with my students. I probably use one every unit because I either use it at the very beginning of the unit to see what students already know, or I might use it near the end of the unit to review, or I could do both. So let me show you what a media album is. I'm going to click on this, and you could select it as well. But so a media album is what its name denotes. It's just usually a collection of images. It could be short videos or audio files as well, but it's just a collection of images. And so what I might do is with students, I might say, hey, we're going to be studying simple machines, or we're going to be studying persuasive writing or graphing, or we're going to be studying the Civil War, whatever it is we're studying. And I might ask students, your homework tonight is to find a picture that has to do with what we're going to be studying. And I want you to add it to this media album. And so it's really a nice way to see, what students can find. It causes them just to search and find some things. And I find it leads to some really good discussions with the class. And it's certainly good feedback for me as a teacher, because if there's several images that have absolutely nothing to do with what we're going to be studying, that tells me something too. So at any rate, this media album just has a couple of sample pictures. I guess it's more than a couple, it's 11. But they're just different images. And this one's set up so that all of us together can add to it. So you should be able to come in here and you should see an add media button. I'm going to go in as a student as well, so I can show the exact view that I want you to see. So it's in the Be a Student folder in that media album. There we go. So you can see this add media button on the right. So take a look at the ones that are here if you want, but let's take a couple minutes. And if you want, you can add an image or something to this album. I would suggest an image. So whether it's something saved on your computer or you find something online, you could add a picture or a meme to this album. So go ahead, I'll give you a little bit of time here, a minute or two to do that. All right, I can see that 3 or 4 of us have done that so far. One thing you'll also see is that when you click on the image that you added, you are able to edit the caption if you want. So you can only do that for the one you added. So sometimes I'll ask my students to, after they add an image, to edit the caption and put something on there. All right, I see several of us have added some images here. We've got one about an instructional coach or different roles. And some of you had added something last time. I think I might have, oops, I didn't mean to go to that. Let's see. All right, we've got someone who climbed a mountain there, looks like Red Gap Pass, in honor maybe of my mountain reference there. So yeah, you can keep going through the pictures if you want and see. All right, very cool. A lot of strong women. Erica added, and I voted. And I can just go through these quickly. So there's the running one from Sandra. The bus is named Struggle. Cool. That is pretty cool. All right, I think I'm at the end of the pictures, so I'm back to the beginning, the very first Zoom meeting. All right, so you can see that, media albums are something at least you know about now, and certainly you can build a set of images, or your students can collaboratively build one. One more comment about this: sometimes as a teacher, I have some kind of a media project I want my students to complete, and so I'll use a media album like this to give them several images that they could use in their project. So especially for young students, so any of you that teach young enough students that you want to give them a bunch of images or media to use in their project, a media album can be a great way to do that, because any of us, so for instance, if I went into the picture that Erica added of the different women, what I can do is I can click on the name of the file, inspirationalwomen.jpg, and it will download that for me. So media albums can be a great way to give kids media that they're going to use in a project, like a slideshow, or maybe they're going to make a Google drawing like a flyer or something. I use this quite a bit for that too, so mention that. All right. Any questions? Let's see, Scott. Are these options you've been discussing? Yes, so Scott, both of these two, updates and media albums, are available in groups. And so media albums in groups, I'm a coach sometimes too, and so I've used media albums, to have, game photos or even plays from a playbook or something in there. But yep, media albums are even a little more prominent in a course. I'm sorry, in a group. I think they're on the left side in the left menu over here. And so I can jump into one and show you here quickly. Let's see, let's go here. Yeah, so they're just called albums there, but that's the same thing as a media album. You can have several of them. So this one, so they look a little different in a group, but yes, they're there. And then updates is actually the default landing page for a group, because one of the main purposes of a group is communication. So, yeah. All right, good question. I'm going to go back to this course. All right, so what we're going to do next is we need to jump into assignments. And so what I would like us to do is try an assignment together. On the right side here, all of you should be able to see this try an assignment number 1, as fast as words could fly. Now, I've got several assignments in this course if you want to look at them. It's just that because of our time, we're not going to do several. We'll do 1 or 2. But there are more in this Be a Student folder. It's just that I didn't put a due date on them. And so when you don't put a due date on them, then it doesn't show up over there. So, all right. So let's click on this one, try an assignment number 1. And I think this will give you some great examples of what's possible. All right. So this assignment has some text. It has some formatted text. So you've got little bold sections, and you've got the, even the green. And then it also has an embedded video. So if you remember last time, it was at the very end of our time, we showed how to embed things like video, and this is no different. So maybe we'll review that one more time today. We'll build an assignment together that has a video embedded right in it. I think that's a valuable skill for you to have mastered. So I'll just read this quickly, and then we'll try this assignment a couple different ways, just so you can see what students could do. Now, this is what's called just a traditional Schoology assignment. And so students have a lot of options when they click Submit Assignment, okay? But let's look at the instructions first. It just says, watch this story, then answer the questions below by either typing your answer or creating a short video response. Then it has the questions. Think about how Patrick treated Mason on his bus. I'm not going to read them all. But so right here, there's the questions I'm asking the students. And then the next parts are just, remember, I gave them an option. They could either type an answer or make a video response. So what I wanted to model here for you is how explicit I am with my instructions for students, especially when they're starting out with Schoology. So for instance, if the student's going to type an answer, I'm telling them exactly, you will need to click Submit Assignment. There it is right there. And then Create before you type your answer. You may want to copy and paste the questions into the Create area before adding your answer. So let's pretend that we watched the video already. We're not really going to, I think it's a 15-minute or more video, but if you haven't seen this before, it is a good video. So we're going to pretend that we're going to click Submit Assignment and then Create to type our answer. Now, I do teach my students to copy the questions. So here, they might copy that if they're following Mr. Gavan's instructions. And then they're going to click Submit Assignment and Create. So let's do that. Submit Assignment. Now, where in the world is Create? Hopefully they can see it. This is the area where they create an answer right on the spot. We'll come back here in a minute and show you what's possible here, but I want to follow the instructions first. So Create gives them just the option to type. So they could paste their answers. I'm sorry, they could paste the question they copied, and then they can add their answer here, like this. So students, if this is a lengthier thing they're going to type, you might even have them type it in Google Docs or something ahead of time and paste it. But they can even save a draft if they want. But I'll just click Submit. We'll pretend that I'm done. Before I do that, though, notice that they do have a lot of formatting options. So, students can certainly align things. They can have lists, bulleted lists, numbered lists. They can choose different font sizes, and they can also choose strike through, superscript, subscript. They can clear formatting. So some of this is helpful if you're teaching in the math and sciences like I am. The other thing is this Insert Content button. This does allow them to insert symbols, equations. These are different methods. If you don't teach math and science, it probably just makes your eyes glaze over. But these are helpful things if your students need to put in some symbols and things from a math or science course, for instance. All right, so students can do all of that, but when they're done, they can go ahead and submit it. All right, my assignment submission has been received. That's good. In case you're curious, by default, students will see this, that it's on time. They'll also see the option to resubmit the assignment unless you've locked it. And so when we create an assignment, I'll show you how to lock an assignment if you don't want that. But there's not really a way to keep students from submitting more than once. But when you get to the teacher view, I'll show you how you can see like the most recent thing they submitted. It's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and we will pretend that we want to do, I need to refresh my screen, get that video back, sorry. Let's pretend that we wanted to do option 2, which was make a video response. So I'm going to resubmit. Kathy, resubmitting does not delete the earlier answer. When as a teacher you open it, it will show the most recent submission first. But as a teacher, I could dig in and find the earlier submissions if I wanted. Scott, you said, can you add accents to letters for a world language course? Yeah, I think that within, that's really good. You can change the language in Schoology of the menus. I don't know with certainty where that is, Scott. So, okay, Eric is looking into that. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question, though. All right, so let's finish what my thought here, and then we can try to look, and I can go through and see if there's a chat thing that I can answer for you. But so let's say this time we didn't want to just create something on the spot. In this initial area you're in, it's called upload. You have a couple of options. You can just upload a file, so you could choose a file. So if there's something you've created that's on your computer or your Chromebook or tablet, whatever it is, you can go to the file system there and you could turn it in. But the instructions for making the video are to click on this microphone icon. So again, I need to mute my camera on this call. And now I can click this, which is going to allow me as a student to do the exact same thing we did with updates. So here, my students will have up to 10 minutes, as we confirmed earlier, to share their answer and their thoughts. And as a teacher, then I'll be able to see that. So yeah, I do use this with students a bit. Often it's just have them show me something they've done, something physical, or if I have them holding up a piece of paper or something, or a poster, anything like that. or certainly in like a world language class or an engineering class or any class where you want them just to make like a little bit of a presentation and show things or make a little speech. This works really well. So the sky's the limit. I'm going to stop recording for now. And so this is the exact same, exact same way that I did that with updates. Once I submit this, it takes a little bit to process. So it's not like the teacher could open it right away, but pretty quickly, within a couple minutes, they should be able to open it and see that. So, yep. Oh, yeah. So thank you. Yep, Scott. Yeah, it is. So in that insert, I'll show that to people. We'll go in here again just because I haven't shown you everything yet. So to Scott's point and question, in the insert content, symbol is where you can get at more than almost any symbol you want. So yeah. Let's see. Abby, let me address your question in a minute here. So I see your question about the portfolio. So one more thing in this initial upload area. I don't remember. Can you remind me, what devices do your students have? What are your students using? Was it laptops, or were they specifically? Okay, so specific laptops. Okay, or iPad. All right. So upload would be probably like, let's say the students have an image or something that they're submitting, or some other file they've created in another app, like even something they've typed or a slideshow. I suppose upload could work well. On my computer, I'm on a PC as well, like your Lenovo's, so students are able to, pick anything that they wanted. I could just turn in a picture if I wanted. So I'll submit that. I want to show one last thing, because I believe you have a lot of students probably using Google resources too. And so if you choose resources, students also can access that apps area and get to their Google Drive. So, they would be able to get to their Google Drive if they're on a device that only they are using. If it's a shared device, that gets a little tougher because they'd have to be, signed in. But if they have their own device, they certainly could go into their, their Google Drive, and they could choose something to turn in to you. Generally, the way the students would do it, they could either check the box and turn in a couple things if they wanted, like if they wanted to do a couple of them. But if they wanted to just turn in one item, they can click the little gear off to the right of it, and they can import the file. Now, this is a little different than the teacher, because what this is doing is it's going to take like a snapshot in time of their file. Okay, so the reason for that is you'll get I teach high school. I'll sometimes have students, if it wasn't like this, that would do this to turn in like a Google Doc, but they're not necessarily done with it. And then they might go later and work on it more. So this is actually taking like a snapshot in time of this file. If you wanted the kids to turn in like a Google Doc or something, there's another way to do that. I'll show you that assignment later. So, all right. So now we've turned in 4 different types of assignments. So I saw a question about the portfolio. So yeah, if you're seeing this as well, so add your submission to a portfolio. So Schoology has something called portfolios, if your district has enabled it. And if you're seeing it, then definitely probably it's enabled. So those are outside of any course or group. And so some schools will have the 4th graders build a portfolio. And I made up 4th graders, could be 3rd graders, could be 2nd graders, 1st graders, kindergartners, whatever you want. And they start a portfolio, and sometimes they do a portfolio just for that year. But they could turn in certain assignments from different courses that they're in, different classes that they're in, into that portfolio. Or a teacher could have a portfolio that was just for their class, but realize the portfolio doesn't stay with this class. It actually stays with the student. So if I turned in this assignment, if I said, oh, I'm really proud of this, this is one of my exemplary assignments, I need to put this in my portfolio, and I click this, if I don't have a portfolio, it's going to have me create a portfolio. But the portfolios are outside of the course. If you already had some portfolios, you'd see the options there. And the way you can access a student's portfolio, or a student can, is under their name. In their profile area, there's a portfolio section. So we're not going to go in there right now, but hopefully that answers the question. I'll give one last example. I know there are several schools that I've worked with, middle schools or high schools, that have students build like a kind of a what's next, or a could be college and career, could be interests, whatever it is, but they have them build a portfolio during the whole time they're at that school. And so maybe they have like an advisory period in middle school or high school, and throughout their 9th grade year, there's going to be 4 or 5 things they add to their portfolio, and then in 10th grade they're going to add more. Or in middle school, they could add different things in grades 6, 7, 8. In elementary school, they could do a portfolio as well, where they're just adding certain things each year. And it's kind of nice because then at the end of their elementary school career, or the end of some grade level, they would have a common set of artifacts or whatever it is that they're saving in their portfolios. Yes, so Allison, that's what's coming next. So perfect. Yeah, we're going to look at this from the teacher perspective next. Yep. Okay, so here you can see that the student turned in all of these. I'm going to jump over to the teacher view, and let me go the materials page, and we'll take a look at this assignment. So here's this assignment. As a teacher, I can see the students that have turned it in. So I can see there are 7 of us. And so if I go into the first one, and it even tells me, what needs grading, I can see who I received them from. So, I'm not going to click this right now, but I could see, the 31 that didn't turn it in and the 7 that did. You can see the 7 that did right here, but I'll click on Brittany's. And I can see as a teacher, revision 1 is submitted, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4. So what I'm seeing on my screen as a teacher is revision 4, the most recent one. And so I can see this was the Google Doc that the student turned in. And so it's kind of like a snapshot in time. As a teacher, I can do some things, like if I click this little pen, I could, circle something if I wanted. And in a second after I circle it, you can even change the style. I could make that, this kind of greenish color. I could make it thicker if I wanted. Say I'm done. You can add things like sticky notes as well. So, if I wanted to add a little sticky note there, I could. And then the students can actually see these things. You can do strike through text as well, or highlight text. So if I wanted to highlight some text, there we go. I could just say done, strike through. You can test different things here. But you've got these markup tools basically. And so I could also then, of course, give a score. So in this case, maybe I'm going to give the student an 8 out of 10, and I could make a comment if I want. Recording details. Now, whoops, let me submit that. So at this point, the student can see their grade. Now, remember, this student submitted 4 different times. So as a teacher, if I look on the upper left, I can see I'm on revision 4, but I can click here and I could change and I could see any of the revisions. So if I wanted to see that first one or the second one where they made a video, I could see that. Kind of a scary thumbnail there. So I could go to any of these that they turned in and see them, including the first one. So some teachers will actually have students, they'll set up an assignment on purpose so that students come into it every day this week. So maybe it's a journal for this week. And so students should actually make 5 different submissions, one for Monday, one for Tuesday, one for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so that would certainly be a very viable way to use this. Keep in mind that you're giving 1 grade for the whole assignment. So this grade is, even if I'm looking at all 4 of the revisions, I'm still giving just 1 grade. If you wanted those to be separate grades, I'd have them be separate assignments. So, all right, there's a question in there. Where do students see the comments? Well, let's jump back to the student perspective here and take a look now that I've scored this. Before that, though, so Edie, we'll get to your question, but before that, I can simply, as a teacher, click this arrow and go on to the next person's work. So that's Abigail's. I also could click on the bottom here. And so here I could, I could give points for that if I wanted. I could continue, just to go to the next one. I also can see at the bottom of my screen that I could click on anyone. So if I wanted to go right to, yours, Edie, I could do that. Maybe the best way to answer your question is I could, there we go. So I could give 9 out of 10 points, say, we're talking about storyline here. So the main couple of things here. That comment that I just made, that comment happens to be with the grade. So it's going to be in the grades area, Edie, is the short answer to your question. But there's also an option over here to add comments. And this would be more, so the feedback here is, generally, oops, if I can spell it right, about the submission or the process. So sometimes, for students, I might, here as a teacher, I might actually make a little video where I say, here, I'll show you this. I could give some feedback about their assignment submission and maybe encourage them to submit again or resubmit because they were missing something or there's something else that they could add. So you can certainly over here, and again, this will process here, takes a little bit of time, but this feedback over here is generally process feedback. The feedback here with the grade is generally, comments with the grade. So hopefully that makes sense. We will go ahead and jump over to a student view again here, and I'll show you that. So here I am as the student. Let me refresh the screen here. So here's as a student, if I come into this assignment again, I can see my grade now. I can also see there's a little speech bubble. And if I just hover over it, it shows what it says. The other place that I could see this is as a student. If I go into the grades area for the course, I can see it there too. So I can see I got 8 out of 10, and I can see the comment right there. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question well. All right, let's, I'm going to show you one more assignment. I don't know if I have it set up or not. Let's, I think we've got time here. I want to leave at least a half hour for assessments here. So, so in my course here, in the Be a Student folder, if you expand that, you'll see another assignment called this Try Assignment number 3, the Scientist Report Google Drive assignment. This is a little different type of assignment. Let's go in here. Oops, I guess I didn't set it up. No. So when we go to build an assignment together here in a moment, I'll show you this, but I didn't actually set this one up, so never mind. Forget what I just said there. All right. So let's go in as a teacher now. Hopefully, let's see. I want to answer the question here. Kathy said, what about the comments on the page that you highlighted? Yeah, you can see those. Let me go back in as the student. Sorry about that. So when I come back into this assignment, Um, if I go into this revision that was submitted, that's where I can see those. Now, I don't think there was any here. I think it was revision 4 that I made those. There you go. So you can see, you know, I can see spooky hat, you know, and I could mark it done if there was something I was supposed to do. But otherwise, I can just see these little things that the teacher did. So as a student, you just need to go back into the actual submission that you turned in. So good question, Kathy. Sorry, I missed that earlier. I didn't understand your question, I think. So yeah, so just to summarize, you know, after a student's gotten some feedback on their assignment, they can go back in and look at this and actually go into that submission, or they could go into any of their submissions. I don't think I made other comments on anything or any other markups or annotations on those others. So this is probably the only way to show that. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to build an assignment together. I just want to take you through that process. And so as a teacher, you'll want to go into the course that your practice course or sandbox, whatever you called it. So if I go into my courses and I go into that Gavand practice for Fort Wayne, that's where I want to be. All right. So I had been working in a folder before. If I want to keep working in that folder, that's fine, but I'll just make an assignment maybe outside of a folder here. We're going to go to click Add Materials and then Add Assignment right there. So if you have the desire to, this is a good point for you to try this along with me, just to try creating an assignment. So we'll call this a demonstration assignment. Okay. And so you put a title for your assignment, and then I would encourage you, description is not required, but I do encourage you to put some good information here. That helps students, if you have parent accounts, parents looking at this, it helps everyone just to understand what this is. So this is the area where you have a lot of power. So you can add text, images, you know, video, links, etc. here. So you can add a lot of good things here. So if I wanted to add maybe a video like I did before right here, I can do that. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to just get a link to a video here. I'm going to go over to YouTube. Let's see. Perfect. How to overseed an ugly lawn in the spring. This is perfect. So I've got this video. Again, I'm seeing a nice VRBO ad, but I'm not going to want my students to see that. On a site like YouTube, generally, you're just looking for the share button to get the information you need for Schoology. And so underneath the video on YouTube, I can get the share button. And I can just copy. YouTube is one of those unique ones. I don't even need the embed code. I could get it, but you just need the link in YouTube. Schoology and YouTube work pretty closely together, and so this will work well. So if I just copy that link, that's going to be all I need for like a YouTube video. I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to go back into Schoology, and I want to put that video right here. So how do I do that? Exactly the same way we did last time, which you may or may not remember. It's this Insert Content button right here. And when you click that, image or media is the first option, and you're almost always going to use that. Some of you may notice over on the right side of my screen, I've got some things I've added, and YouTube is there, but this YouTube, this is in the resource apps, and I actually don't use it too much. I should probably uninstall it because this one will take me to a place where I can search for YouTube videos, but my workflow, generally I already know the video I want. And so in this case, I already have the video I want. I don't need to do this. So again, don't worry about this, but we're going to go into the image or media area. And here's where I have a few choices to make. If I've got the video saved on my device, like my laptop, then I could attach it. But this is from the web because it's on YouTube's website. And you have to decide if it's an image or media. Videos are almost always media. and you paste that right there. And so I just put that link right there. Notice that it says link or embed. So this could be all sorts of different resources you can embed here, but we're just choosing a video for now. You insert that and it puts this there. This is more of a placeholder. If you don't want that little space up above it, you can always get rid of that. So in this area, I just added a video, but you can add all sorts of things. I mean, you can also add images or like we talked about earlier, those different symbols and sorts of things. So at any rate, we'll leave this for now. So we will pretend that our description tells students everything they need to do. Notice that you also still have the option to attach things like files or links, something from your Schoology resources. You can make a little audio video of your own as a teacher. These are things that you could just attach to the assignment that students would need for the assignment. So I'm going to make one note about that. If you attach something from below, please refer to it in the description or instructions. So I know just from my experience using Schoology for a long time, as a teacher, it might be really obvious to us what to do with this file or link that we attached, but you want to, for students and parents, refer to that. So if there's a link down here, make sure in your instructions you tell students, why is that link there? What's it for? Are they supposed to review some part of that website or whatever that is linked before they work on the assignment? What are they supposed to do? So that's important. Are you able to hyperlink text in the assignment description? Brad, yes. So you see the link right there. So anything, any text can become a link. So like if this was supposed to be a link to something, I can just highlight the text and then click the link button, and it's going to make that into a link. So if I, for instance, just wanted to go to google.com, I could do that. And the title is just whatever text I've highlighted. So now that is a link. So good question. There is a spell check if you want. A lot of times your browser may already be spell checking as you go, but that is there if you want as well. So, all right. So let's talk about this next little row here. And so maybe in the chat, do you all see an option, a Google Drive assignments option right here? I'm just curious if one or two of you could respond in the chat, that would be helpful. Okay, you do. So thank you. So sometimes you want to give an assignment to students that has like a file from your Google Drive, and you want them to work on that file. So maybe you have a slideshow, or maybe you have a Google drawing or a document or spreadsheet, and you want to give every student one, and they can then they can work on it. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to ignore this. We'll come back to it. We're going to come back here. I want to show you, because when you do that, it does change the assignment fairly dramatically. So I want to go through it without doing this first, but then we'll come back into this assignment and we'll make it a Google Drive assignment. But again, I just wanted to address that now, since you probably are wondering and you've seen that there. So let's go ahead and ignore that for now, please. But let's put in a due date for our assignment. Let's say it's due this Friday or Thursday maybe. It defaults to 11:59 p.m. So if you want to change the time, to 2 p.m., I can do that. Maybe 2:15 p.m., whatever. Note that you can put it could be 100 points. Maybe I only want this to be worth 15 points, whatever it is here. You can adjust the points on that assignment. Sarah, I'll address your comment as well. I guess I have a question about that too. So category is where you're choosing where in the gradebook this goes. So let's do this. We haven't created gradebook categories yet. That's coming next here. But if I go to create new grading category, maybe I have a formative category I want. Maybe I have formative and summative, whatever it is that I have. So you can create it right on the fly here. The grading period is going to be whatever grading period you're currently in Schoology. And so I have one right now in my Schoology called 2021 quarter 3. I'm not sure what your options are. They'd be different than mine, but I could put it in a different quarter if I wanted, but I'm in quarter 3, so Schoology kind of saves me time if that's really where I am. Factor, I wouldn't recommend messing with that. That factor is going to, it should be a 1. And what that means is it really is worth exactly 1 time what you say it is. So if it's 15 points, it's 15 points. If someone changed this to a 2, its impact in the gradebook is actually double that. Now, another thing to mention is because you are at least moving towards passing your grades, I think, between Schoology and I believe Power School maybe, you don't want to really mess with the factor. So I would just recommend leaving that one. Now, as we talk about the scale, oh, Erica, to your question, it does. Yep. So if I put the exact time at 2:15, what's going to happen is if they turned it in at 2:16, it will mark it late. Yes. Yeah. And the student can see that, and you can see that. It's just a little red text after the submissions. So the scale or rubric, the default for me because of my settings is numeric, and that just means just a straight percentage. So like, 12 out of 15 would be an 80%. It's just going to be based on that, but you can change your scales. And so sometimes a school district might have some different scales or even rubrics that could be there. Rubrics are a little different, so I shouldn't say that, but certainly the scales will vary based on your district. The default 2 that are there are numeric and this A plus minus, that's it. But on my screen, you can see others, and that's because I'm in a test environment and lots of people have added different scales for me. So we'll go into the grade setup area next, and I'll show you more about where those come from. But for now, just know you can select some different scales if you want. You can align assignments to standards. If you're going to really get into that, it's kind of beyond the scope of our class today. But I'll just tell you in a nutshell, you're probably, like, let's say you're in the English department or the science department. You're probably, if you really want to really get into aligning everything to learning objectives or standards, you're probably going to want to create a group for your PLC or department where you pull out the standards you're going to be using, because then it makes it a lot easier to align things here. So I want to mention that since you're seeing it, but we don't have the time, and it's beyond the scope of our training today to really get into learning objectives and how they work. But just know that you can align everything to standards, and it's fairly powerful if you get into that. Let's see, Kathy, you had a question, will our grading scales be from the district? Maybe you're asking that of your district. Your district or your school or department certainly could have a scale there if they wanted. I'll show you more about that area here in a moment too, Kathy. And if anyone in your district wants to answer that, they could as well. So down in the options, you do have the option to individually assign things if you don't want those to be assigned to everybody. Here's that locking part that I showed you earlier. So if I click the lock, notice that it says it's unlocked, but I could either lock it now, which would prevent any more students from turning it in. So maybe I had a big assignment that was due Friday, and over the weekend I might lock it. And then students kind of need to work with me or work with their parents and I to be able to even turn it in late somehow. So you can certainly lock, or if you do lock on, you can set a specific date and time. Like you could set, a day later than the due date or something. And at that point, it's actually going to be locked and they couldn't turn it in even late. So you can do locking if you want. Down here, submissions enabled. Here's another icon that's pretty important. So you need to leave that. That's the default. If you want students to have that submit assignment button. Okay, so the submit assignment button, if this was a presentation the kids were making or a poster or something physical that they're turning into you, then you may want to deselect this because it'll turn gray then, because they're not actually supposed to turn in anything in Schoology. So do think about that. And so any assignments where they're not going to turn something in Schoology, you'll want to deselect that. So it says submissions disabled. Otherwise, that could get confusing for kids. I'm going to leave them for mine in this case, but that just means published. This is grading statistics. I think these others we're not going to really spend time on for now. I just wanted to explain, especially those first few to you. So, all right. At this point, I am going to go ahead and create this assignment just so we can take a look at what we did. And in the interest of time. So here I've got my demonstration assignment. Looking at it from a teacher perspective, I can click on it and see, what it looks like. So it looks like my text and my video, and that's it. Students over here would have a submit assignment button, and I'm in as a teacher, so here's where I'm going to start to see all the student submissions right there. So I'll see those, and I could click on them like I showed you earlier. Okay. Before I go back into this assignment, because we're going to go back in and we're going to change it to a Google assignment, just in case you want to see that. I want to see if there's any questions on what I did right now. Oh, Kathy asked a question. Can students see each other's submitted assignments? No, they can't. So an assignment is just between the teacher and the student. Now, Kathy, a discussion, which we did last time, is between the whole, that's something the whole class could see. So really the main difference between discussions and assignments is discussions are for the whole class and assignments are just between the teacher and student. So, you just have to think about your purpose. So if it's something you want all the other kids to see and give feedback on, then do a discussion. If it's just between you and your students, the teacher and the students, then do an assignment. Because the possible ways and what students could turn in are pretty similar between the two. All right. So what we're going to do is, if you're on your assignment right now, we're going to just click the gear and we're going to go to edit that assignment. If you're not on this screen, if you're out on your materials page maybe, you can still get to edit that by just clicking the gear there and going to edit. All right. So here's our assignment that we have so far. Now, this part right here, when we want to add some sort of a Google file that we want all the students to work on, it does change the assignment. But I want to show that to you just because you might use it. So I'm going to click Google Drive Assignments. And if this is your first time ever selecting it, it very well may ask you to approve that connection or sign in. That's okay. Please do that. And then what you're doing here is you're choosing a file from your Google Drive. And I've got, let's see, what do I have here? I thought I had a bunch of starter files here. Here we go. So I have a folder of different starter files. So if I wanted all of the students to have this particular file, this is a Google drawing. It's called Famous Scientist Report. If you're not sure what it is, there's a view button there. So I'll go ahead and show you this. I want all the students to get a copy of this because they're going to be working on it. They're going to be completing this poster or flyer about a famous scientist. So this is a great example of a template that I might give my students because I want them to all work on this and complete it and turn it in to me. And so this is how you do that. So I'll close that and I'll say, yep, that's the one I wanted. So you click on that, it'll stay blue then, and you attach it. So it even says here, here's this Google drawing icon, Famous Scientist Report. This will create a copy of your file for each student. So this is a situation where you're wanting your students to do something in Google Drive and be able to turn it into you. So that's what we're doing here. So you choose a file, this will pop up there. Now, once I save this, it's hard to get rid of this because I want to say it even, it already created a copy for all the kids, and so you almost have to delete the whole assignment and start over. So be sure about this if you want to do that. But in this case, I'm very sure about it. I want all the kids to have their own copy, and I'm going to save it. All right. So now my demonstration assignment, when I click on it, is going to look different. So you can see now I've got the same, description. I've got my my text, my video. I can actually see as a teacher, here's this file that I gave all the kids, famous scientist report. But notice the biggest change is I have these different sections of the assignment. I've got the assignment, I've got in progress, and I've got submissions. So in progress would be the kids that are working on this. So if I click on this, I don't have any students in here, but I would be able to see all my students here, and I could click on one and I could see exactly where they're at. So if they're making a slideshow for me or they're making this poster, even before they turn it in, I can see exactly where they're at. I could even make comments on it and give them some feedback. And then the submissions area, same thing. Once they've all turned it in, I'm going to see all their, if I click on their name, I'll see this Google file, this poster they made for me. So this is a pretty powerful thing if you have a lot of work you have students do in Google Drive. So yeah. Couple questions. Erica, you said, does the assignment for each student save in your Drive too, or just in Schoology? It does save in your Drive. So let me go in, let me see. Let me go into my Drive and just show you this. So you don't want to mess with this, but you'll see this folder, Schoology Google Drive assignments right there. And what I will see is every single course I start using this in, it starts to organize a whole folder structure. So like that, I don't even know. Let's see. Trying to see if I can even, yeah, I mean, there's so many different, so you'd have to click on, I'm trying to see if I can even find the Fort Wayne one that I just did. But I guess, I don't think it happened yet because I don't have any students in that class. That's kind of what triggers it. But if I go into one of these, I'll see any assignment that I did this with. So I could actually go in and see all the students' assignments right here if I wanted. So you don't really want to mess with that. You don't want to move things. You don't want to change names. But in your Drive, it does indeed create a folder like this. And for students, the same way. It's actually shared with them, but it's in your Drive as the teacher. Yeah, Rachel. So Rachel's making a great point. So let's say that I have a co-teacher in my course. So let's say this course, this China Spring, is the one with the co-teacher. I would want to click on it and share it with that other teacher. At least, I don't know, probably editing rights. So I would want to share editing rights with that Google Drive course. Otherwise, when that co-teacher clicks on these assignments, they won't see them because it's only the teacher whose Drive started that assignment. So great point, Rachel. Thank you for reminding me about that. All right. So, and it's great to cover the Google things. It was a little beyond the agenda. I know you guys are curious about that, but we really should move to assessments here in the last 15 minutes or so that we have. And so here's what I would like us to do. Click in your courses in that top menu and go ahead and go into the course where I'm the teacher, the Intro to Schoology courses, Fort Wayne. And I want you to try an assessment right now. And that's right over here on the right side. It's a sample assessment. I do have, I think, another one in the Be a Student folder if you're really curious about more. Yes, this fun assessment with all the things. I believe, I'll make sure that one's open for you for later if you want to explore. Yep, it is. Okay, so this one is longer, but the sample assessment for now, that's the one I'd like us to do. So I'm going to go in as a teacher or a student as well, and we'll do that together. So sample assessment right here, that's the one we should do. All right. So we'll go ahead and start the attempt. I hope this isn't too long of an assessment. We don't have a ton of time left, so because I want to talk about grading. Okay, there's only 7 questions here. So we'll talk through these quickly. Again, we don't care at all about the score you get. I just want to make sure you see this. So this is an ordering question, scientific method. And so you can change, as a student, you can change the order of these. So if I was going to ask a question first and then predict what's going to happen, test and record what happens. Okay, decide if you were correct. Okay, so you can put these in whatever order you'd like. And then you can navigate to the next questions right here. You can go either 2, 3, 4, there's 7 questions on this assessment, or I can just click next. So I'll do next. This one is a drag and drop with an image. So Asia, I can drag that over there. Shows me all the possible landing spots when I pick it up. South America, Australia, there's Australia, Europe, there, Africa, and North America. Now, before I go to the next one, I do want to show you over here, this is what's called the toolbar. And so students have the option, a couple of these are always here, like these top 2. The review lets you see all the questions, including all the ones you didn't do yet. There's all the ones I didn't do yet, so I'm not ready to turn it in. But this area you will have to touch on as a student before you turn it in anyway. But if you want to get rid of that, you just click that little calendar icon again. So you can click it to show it, get rid of it. This is accessibility. So students can change their color scheme, their font size. They can learn how to zoom on their device. So that's just always going to be there for your students. So if you have a student that wants a bigger font size, they can do that just like that. All right, and you can see it's bigger than, in fact, North America doesn't even fit anymore. So students can adjust that if they want. And then these others are up to you as a teacher. So flag for review, that would be, let's say I'm stuck on this question and I say, I want to come back here if I have time later. So I could flag this, and now you'll see what happens at the end. It's almost like I put a little bookmark by this question to come back to it if I have time. Some of these other options, like this one, would be for multiple choice questions. You can eliminate certain choices if they're not right. Just kind of a visual for the student to say, I know it's not A or B. I'll cross those out. And then it'll help me just look at the other ones, C and D or something. So, and then you've got a calculator, a ruler, a notepad, and you can make the assessment be full screen. That's kind of a nice one that I generally ask my students, to consider, because I want them to not have any distraction. So that's one that I would use. So let's go on to the next question here. This is a number line question, so we'll go ahead and drag these. 15/4. Let's see, that is 3 3/4, I think. All right, 4.5 and 1.0. Okay, so, and you could use this for a timeline too, but in this case, it's more of a mathematics number sense question. Let me go to the next question, this bar chart one. So these are, you can choose a lot of the setup with this. This is a little more advanced question type, but if you put one of these questions in, students can drag this up. So Steph Curry is at 34.6 million. So that's 35 million right there. Note that, I'll do this with Kevin Durant. This was a few years ago when all these players were playing together. So you can see, it kind of snaps to, there's 5. So there's 5 it starts on, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it kind of snaps to each spot on this scale. So his is 25 million right there. 17.8 million, that's 18 million. So here's where you could go to 15, and then 16, 17, 18. And then Draymond Green, 16.4. So that'd be 16 million. So you go to 15 million, then one more is 16 million. So you may have gotten that question wrong. Notice that when you hover over these, you can go up or down, but you also could go left or right. So if I click like the right, it's going to switch those 2 bars. So I'll put it back, but you can move things left or right as a student as well, up and down, left and right. So let me go to the next one. Mark the place on the graph where both functions share the same ordered pair solution. Well, that's right here. Students can change colors on these. So, students could circle that or put a little dot there if they wanted, whatever you want them to do. But this is just a type of question where you as a teacher get to put an image on here, and then the students can, draw on it, mark it up kind of. So it's just very open-ended, and you as a teacher will need to score this type of question. It's called the highlight image question. So let me go to the next one, see what we've got. Okay, this was a hotspot one. So if you hover your mouse on this, you as a teacher get to define, again, this is based on an image, you get to define certain sections of that image that students can select. So it could be an image of anything, but choose the region of the US with the warmest average temperatures. We should get at least one question wrong on here, so we'll do that. And then next, okay, correctly place the following Civil War events on the timeline. Battle of Fort Sumter, I think that was 1861. Let's see. Oh boy. Well, we're gonna be making up some of these. I'm not a huge history buff, so I may have gotten some of that wrong too. So when you're done answering all the questions, you do have to click that review button. And then now I can see any ones I flagged or anything. But when I'm done, I click finish. Do you want to submit the activity now? Yes. So students can't really accidentally submit this. If a student ever says, I accidentally submitted it, just know that they probably had to click 3 times that they were sure they wanted to submit. So it's not easy to accidentally submit. A couple questions, or EDU asked, I noticed that some types of questions are only available with Enterprise. So you do have Enterprise Schoology, Edie. So you should have, I think there's 18 different types of questions at this point, and I believe Schoology is even adding a couple other question types in the next few months. So you have them all. Yeah. All right. So you will see as a student that I could view my attempt right away. If I view it, I'm going to be able to see all the scores here. Now, the only thing I can't see yet, like I can't see a grade on this because it hasn't been scored. So I may, as a student, end up with more points than the 16. But I want to get to one where I got it wrong. Here we go. So this one I got 0 out of 2. Notice it's not showing me the correct answer. And this one I got it all wrong. I don't think I got it all wrong. I don't know how that scoring is set up. It must be all or nothing. So you can do partial credit as a teacher if you want. I must not have set that up because I'm pretty sure, well, maybe one of you that's a history buff. I thought the Battle of Fort Sumter was right there in 1861, but maybe it was 1862. Okay, so this is what the student can see after if you want. From a teacher perspective, I'm going to go into that assessment. Okay, Scott, yeah, thank you. So from a teacher perspective, here's what I'm seeing. I can see the question that needs grading. I can see that, needs grading. I can also see that we as a class did very poorly on the Civil War one. We got 11% of us got it right. You can basically see the questions that students struggled with because it shows them from lowest average score to greatest average score. And you can switch that if you want. Like you could see the ones like everyone got the continents on the map. Most of us got except for me, the region with the warmest temperatures. 80% of the students got the steps in the scientific method. So you can, it's really a nice way for it as a teacher to see which questions kids struggled with. But let me switch that back and I'm going to go into the needs grading and just show you as a teacher, I have to look at these and I actually see like a video of them writing if I look fast enough. But so I can see these and I could, I can give points here. I can go through here and give those points. You probably also see this feedback. So add feedback is pretty powerful for any open-ended questions. If I click that, I can type, but I also could add audio or video feedback. So you can you can talk to your students about their answer, give them some feedback, just like we've been doing all along. So I'm not going to do it right now because of time, but just note that you could do that. And I could go through and I could score all these. I'm not going to, score them all right now, but you get the idea of what I'm doing as a teacher. So let's do this. Because we only have about 5 minutes left, let's go into the create assessment area. Okay, I was wrong on the burning of Atlanta. People are giving me some feedback on social studies. Thank you, everybody. So as a teacher, I'm actually going to show you a couple of resources because I know we're going to run out of time. Sorry about this. So here we are back in this course that you're all part of. And I want to show you that I have a lot of resources on Schoology assessments for you right here. If you expand this folder, this webinar is really amazing for even, you might want to wait till after you've used one or two of them, but you could watch that too. It shows some pretty cool ways to use assessments in courses, might give you some ideas that open that up for you. These slides go with that. Here's that assessment I made for you, with all sorts of different questions. But then I think some of the most powerful things here are these links. So assessments on its own can be a whole course we teach that can last a couple of hours. We have a couple different assessments courses that we offer. This is just an intro course, so we're touching on everything. But if you want to go deep into assessments, there's a couple hours that Schoology has courses on. And really, this webinar could show you a lot too. But the question types right here, if you go into that, it'll show you, I'll click on that quickly. It shows you all the different question types. And for every one of these, it shows you, so I'll just go on multiple choice. It shows you how to set up the questions. And then at the very bottom, there's a walkthrough video. So I have to scroll down. So every question you want to learn about, it teaches you, you can watch that as much as you want. Like, how do I set up a chart question, or how do I set up a multiple choice question? This is really a great resource for you to be able to do that. So, all right, so I'm going to jump back to the Schoology course. I think because of time, what we're going to do is I want to look quickly at the gradebook area of one of your courses, and that's probably going to use up our time. Yes, Erica, please. In fact, what I plan to do is, with this whole course that I made, I plan to make maybe Rachel or a couple of you, if you want, admins of this course. In fact, I can do that now. And you are free to even make some copies of these things, as long as you don't share them beyond our district. So let's see. If you want to put in the chat, Rachel, I'll make you an admin of this course. And you then could, if you want to copy these things to use in your own trainings, that's perfectly fine, as long as you don't share them beyond our district. Yeah. So I'll leave it up to Rachel. Oh, Sarah Ship as well. So Rachel, if anybody else wants to be an admin, you can now make them an admin. So once you're an admin, you have all the same powers in here that I do. So yes. So that way you can kind of deconstruct some of these things because of time. So, all right. So let me briefly just show you in the gradebook setup area. So I think because of time, maybe just watch this for the next couple of minutes, and we're going to have to wrap up. So in a course where you're the teacher, you've got the gradebook, but you also have the grade setup area. And here's where you'll have your categories. So these categories you're going to want to match to the categories that are in PowerSchool. And so you may have some more specific training or tips you're giving teachers. I think I saw in the chat earlier some questions, some back and forth about grade setup. But just know that if you want Schoology's grades and PowerSchool's grades to match, you want the same categories. And there's a little app over on the side, and I don't have it, where you can match up the categories for your gradebook. You also can weight categories. And again, you want to do the same thing. So if formative is maybe 10% and summative was 90%, whatever you've defined, you want the same thing in both places. And so that's important. The grade settings, this is where I think someone asked, so if your district or your school or department has a grading scale they've created, as a teacher, you'll see it over here. And so you may choose, like maybe as a district, I have, I want to choose this A plus minus scale for my grade book. Well, then I can, over here in the gradebook scale area, choose the A plus minus scale right there. You also have some different visibility controls here. These I would not use if you're syncing your grades via that Power Teacher Pro with PowerSchool, because you don't really want to customize things here too much, because that has some effects on the gradebook. So anyway, don't mess with that. But the visibility settings you can change as a teacher, won't affect anything. So the default is allowing your students to view the grade report. But if for some reason you didn't want your students for a little while to see grades, maybe you've just collected a huge summative assignment like an essay, and you know the grades are going to change drastically, you might choose for a little while to hide like the overall grade or the grading period grades from your students. I guess if you have that checked, then you can hide certain ones. Okay, so that would hide it for a little while, allow other faculty to view them. These are the mastery, that's a little different, so I wouldn't worry about that. So I think these are the big ones that you might choose to use if you want to choose to hide those. That's up to you. And the other thing I will mention is once you've got your gradebook set up the way you want, you can copy the gradebook settings into other courses. So if you've set up your categories and scales, if you have some rubrics that you've been using, those can all be copied into other courses of yours. So that's the last thing I would say about that. But I'm guessing there's more info to come from your schools about the connection between, your Power Teacher Pro, PowerSchool, and how you're setting this up. But we are about out of time for today. I want to see if they gave me a feedback form for all of you. Oh, they didn't. Okay. Rachel, I'm going to inquire of my directors, because they were supposed to give me a link, I think, to a feedback form for all of you to fill out. I always like feedback. And so I may follow up with you, Rachel, and send that to you if you could get that out to people, because I don't see it in here yet. But that is something we always like feedback. So sorry we ran out of time a little bit on assessments, everyone. I know you had great questions, and that kind of directed where we went, but I'd hoped to have a little more time on that, and I didn't. So sorry about that. But we need to wrap up for now. I can hang out for like a minute if there's any last urgent things we need to cover. But Sarah just posted an exit slip. Other than that, we are done for now. So thanks, everyone. I've enjoyed working with all of you. Hopefully this gave you a good taste of Schoology courses and how they work. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rachel. I see that. I'll try to get that to you. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I appreciate all the messages. I will add the recording of today's session as well, right underneath session 1. So thanks, everybody. Goodbye.